All right, well, welcome and thanks for joining us today for the August 2025 edition of ECGrid Presents. As you may know, ECGrid Presents is a monthly webinar series where B2B industry experts share insights on various topics. Our goal is to help businesses refine their processes and achieve that next level of supply chain efficiency. My name is Linda Moore, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to today's presenters, my colleagues and ECGrid's very own Crystal Kuczynski, Senior Vice President of Product Management, and Shelley Donkin, Vice President of Support and Implementations. As EDI professionals, we've all had that experience at some point when documents weren't flowing correctly, causing errors, and of course, the delays and headaches that ensued. In their combined EDI experience spanning several decades, Crystal and Shelley have helped solve almost all types of EDI issues, and they're here today to share some of their favorite proactive tips and best practices so you can avoid problems before they start. I invite you to take this opportunity to engage with these experts and ask the burning questions that'll help you become your own internal troubleshooting expert. Type your questions right in the Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom screen anytime during the presentation. Know that this session is being recorded and you'll receive a link to the recording by email. And now, Shelley, Crystal, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Linda. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. As Linda said, I'm Crystal Kuczynski, the Senior Vice President of Product Management at Lauren Data. I've been with Lauren Data for 21 years and in the industry for 26.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shelley Donkin, and I run support, implementations, and onboarding here at Lauren Data. I've been with the company now for almost 19 years next month. So I look forward to sharing some tips and tricks we've found effective over the years.
So why do we feel like this is an important conversation to have? Because EDI is not static. It's an evolving landscape. What worked 5 years ago may no longer be as effective. Requirements change, partner expectations change, and if our EDI processes don't evolve alongside them, inefficiencies and errors can creep in. Front-end work dramatically reduces the need for troubleshooting later. When we put in the effort to get things right before a single document is sent, we prevent the vast majority of issues from ever happening. That's why today's session is really about getting back to basics, or B2B, if you like a little wordplay. In fact, industry data and experience consistently show that 70 to 85% of EDI issues are preventable with proactive setup and front-end troubleshooting. That means fewer delays, fewer chargebacks, and fewer surprises because you're in control. The foundation matters. Avoiding problems before they start is always more effective than cleaning them up after the fact. If we can shift our mindset from being reactive to proactive, we can save time, reduce costs, and create a much smoother experience, both for our teams and for our partners. Let's take a moment to talk about the hidden costs of inefficiency. These are the expenses that don't always show up directly on your financial statements, but can significantly eat into your margins and affect long-term business performance. These hidden costs are often underestimated, but have a real impact. By identifying and addressing inefficiencies, whether through better technology, process improvements, or proactive support, you not only reduce these costs, but also strengthen your overall business resilience and profitability. Now, your first line of defense in mitigating problems before they start is to invest in training. Well-trained teams are faster to spot issues, they're better at troubleshooting, and more confident when something unexpected happens. Whether it's business users or technical staff, the more they understand the system, the fewer escalations you'll see, and the quicker you can respond. Consider ongoing team training, cross-training across the organization and different roles, workshops or ongoing webinars for customers, as well as ongoing education and certifications for team members. Investing in training means making EDI a core competency and reducing black boxes that just one person understands. It reduces operational risk, it increases speed, and enables you to scale more confidently. Now let's shift to visibility and monitoring. To stay ahead of disruptions, you need real-time alerts and notifications that flag issues immediately, whether it's a failed document, a connection issue, or volume drop-offs. And don't forget about proactive health checks. Set time aside to regularly scan the system and validate connections and verify that everything's working as expected. It's like preventative maintenance for your EDI infrastructure. Just as important are comprehensive dashboards. These give your team an at-a-glance 360-degree view of system health, transaction volume, and document flow. You can quickly see if something is out of the ordinary and take action before partners even notice. One of the most effective ways to prevent problems before they occur is through strong data validation and quality assurance. First, we want to implement pre-transmission validation checks. This means verifying the accuracy, completeness, and formatting of data before it's ever sent or processed. By catching issues early in the pipeline, we reduce the risk of downstream errors, data rework, or customer impact. Second, we should always utilize dedicated test environments. These environments allow us to safely test changes or updates without disrupting the live production systems. It's about creating a buffer zone where we can identify and resolve issues in a controlled setting. Together, these practices help us mitigate risks and ensure we're delivering high-quality, reliable data every time. Another key part of mitigating problems before they start is making sure our knowledge is documented and accessible. We need to create comprehensive internal documentation that captures common issues, how they were resolved, and any specifics related to our trading partners. This ensures that when problems do arise, team members aren't starting from scratch. They have a reliable reference to work from. Part of this is building a searchable knowledge base. When employees can quickly find answers on their own, it reduces delays and dependencies while also empowering teams to resolve issues faster and more consistently. Good documentation isn't just a backup. It's a proactive strategy that saves time, it prevents repeated mistakes, and supports operational continuity. The final piece in mitigating problems before they start is making continuous improvement a regular habit. Our EDI processes shouldn't be set it and forget it. Technology evolves, business needs change, and inefficiencies can creep in over time. That's why it's important to regularly review these processes to identify opportunities for improvement. This could mean streamlining workflows, removing manual touch points, or introducing automation where it makes sense. Even small adjustments can have a big impact on reliability and scalability over time.
Okay, so before we move on to the next section, we would love to ask for your feedback. What is your most common EDI challenge? What are the pain points? We will have a Q&A session at the end of this call, so please feel free to add any questions you have also. Now we're going to move on to some common EDI pain points and problems that arise daily. The topic today is really about getting back to the basics and how this can help. And it's important to ask the basic questions. Go back to the beginning. Too often people start with where the issue is now, assume it's maybe the worst case scenario, when instead you could just be looking at the basic information, and which is usually, more often than not, what can be provided the fastest resolution for the issue. By far, one of the most common issues we see in support and implementations, whichever way you want to look at this, is data sent by a trading partner and the customer didn't receive it, or vice versa. Either way you want to look at it. I have zero doubt every one of you on this call today has experienced this. We receive data tracking requests daily from ECGrid customers and their partners. It's also one of the best examples of why going back to the basics really works. Asking these questions will resolve this type of issue 99% of the time. It's usually the simplest answer that corrects the issue and allows data to get to your customer or your partner, whichever way you're looking at this. Whether it's a mismatch of the qualifier, a typo in the EDI ID, there are countless reasons why a file wasn't received. Just this morning, I was looking at an issue, and it was a case where the customer had sent data to a trading partner, and of course they reach out, and trading partner hadn't received the data. The assumption was, oh, the connection is not working. You know, it was almost everything that you could assume, but the answer to resolving this was simply verifying the sender and receiver IDs the trading partner was expecting. The sender had simply accidentally just switched 2 digits in the EDI ID. So this, of course, caused the partner not to receive the file. I mean, you can go down rabbit holes using, you know, assuming the worst. But by looking and answering some of these basic questions, going back to the beginning, you can confirm the information and resolve issues for your clients easily, quickly, and efficiently. We should also talk about VANs, service providers, direct connections, connectivity in general. So it's always important to note and say VANs don't share routing tables. We have no visibility into a VAN's tables any more than they have visibility into ours. Both sides have to have the correct EDI ID set up, pointing to the correct endpoints so that data can connect. In addition to this, it's also important to point out that VANs will work differently. One may require partnership, one may not. So it's always important to understand, you know, ask those questions. You know, again, Crystal touched earlier on communication with your partner, but that's how problems get resolved. You know, what does that VAN need? You know, make sure things are set up in the beginning correctly to avoid some of these issues. One VAN may require partnerships, as I mentioned, one may not. One may look at IDs only, one may look at the qualifier and ID. Everything is different on every VAN or partner or whichever endpoint you're looking at. One VAN may validate data at different levels. This may allow data to pass through one VAN to your partner's VAN, maybe at errors. All of these variables come into play when routing and to and from your trading partners. Again, go back to those basic questions because you may not know your partner's VAN requirements. This will always help mitigate problems before they begin, but more importantly, when they do arise, and they will, help resolve them when they occur. And of course, you can't have discussions like this without touching on connectivity. AS2, SFTP, X.400, I mean, OFTP, the list is long, but connection protocols vary. Partners, VANs, providers use a wide range of connectivity and all managed differently. It's really important to keep in mind the basic questions we discussed that will help mitigate and troubleshoot connectivity issues as well. Or if you're even trying to establish a new connection, it will work either way. AS2 IDs are not the same as EDI IDs. It's always interesting. I mean, there's the people in our industry are so knowledgeable that it's sometimes funny, like how this can get mixed up. One partner may firewall where the other does not. When establishing any new connection, making any changes to an existing one, having the full understanding of your partner's requirements and capabilities, as well as making sure they understand yours, will allow for connections to be established and maintained quickly and efficiently. We can touch on migrations and implementations, and I promise not to deep dive because this is probably a subject I could really go down a rabbit hole on and talk for way too long. But migrations can be completely overwhelming, easily one of the most stressful factors in our industry. Customers will sit on a VAN they're not happy with because they just don't want to deal with it. If you have a plan and gather the right information up front by asking these basic questions, and some additional questions, of course, you can drastically reduce stress for your client and yourself and reduce the potential for data loss. First step to this is always going to be confirm the overall scope of the project. I can't express this enough. Like, knowing the overall scope is completely different from knowing a single part of a project. This will greatly reduce just those unwanted surprises as the project moves forward. Basic questions are important. How many IDs is the client migrating? Does the client have 1 or 1,000? Trading partners. This is always going to be one of the most important pieces of information to gather, and what is used, as far as I'm concerned, to plan the project. If your customer has 2 EDI IDs, but 3,000 trading partners, that can completely determine your next steps and how you will need to plan and break a project down to make it successful. There are so many important questions that asked us during this phase. I wouldn't even begin to try to list them all out, but I mean, think about it. Like, is the client that you're migrating, do they have carbon copies set up on their current van? Do they have limitations they're in when it comes to migration time and they have to update from sending to the old van to the new? It could go on and on. Is the customer routing any non-EDI data or VDA? These are all important to ask. Questions that will help you completely plan and mitigate those issues. It's important, again, touched on this a little bit, but vans route things differently also. For example, like I'm, of course, with Lauren Data, we can route VDA natively through a network. It's not an issue. And by this, I just mean no special configuration is needed on our end for us to let that data route successfully. Some other vans don't route that way, and that's fine. But these questions help you offset delays in your project. If there are outlier data types in the scope of this project, maybe you need to set up a connection to a trading partner for the customer, which maybe in turn requires more time. You know, knowing this up front saves you time overall. Asking these questions up front will help your project stay on track and, more importantly, set customer expectations realistically. So now we can kind of go into time to plan. So, and we touched on some of the scoping and questions, but you got to plan it. So when the right questions are asked in the scoping process, a very clear plan can be made. This information will let you know, is this a single migration? Do you need a phased approach? If so, how many phases? There's, again, a lot of questions that can go into this. But just touching on a previous example I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, if the customer has 2 EDI IDs, but 3,000 trading partners, a phased approach is probably ideal. This way, you know what the customer can do on their end. You've already asked for the questions of limitations, you know, all of these questions up front. But by asking these questions at the beginning and gathering the needed information, again, trading partner is key. Now you can move forward with a solid plan that works for the customer, the trading partners, and you. So you've scoped your project, you've got a plan. Now it's time to schedule. You've got your authorization letter, which, you know, just to touch on that, you know, just kind of industry standard, you know, is going to be, of course, the IDs that are being migrated, signed and on the company letterhead or the owner of those IDs letterhead. So when it goes to scheduling, you know, a good practice and one that I personally live by is making sure that when that notice goes out to all of the vans, the trading partner vans, you know, any direct connections, whoever you're sending this to, you give them a minimum, at least a 1-week notice. It allows for everyone to have the time to look at their system, ask if there's any clarifying questions, and more importantly, confirm it's scheduled on their end. So now, going into migration day. So if you've done the work, vetted the process, vetted the trading partners, all of this kind of at this point, it should be done. Again, I promise not to go down the rabbit hole of migrations, so we'll just skip to migration day. Other than actually, you know, of course, you'll have to move the client IDs if they were pointing to the old van. But other than that, this day should be about updating the customer, very important, and monitoring for any issues. To me, I fully believe monitoring is a responsibility. It falls on all parties. I mean, just for example, if we complete a migration, I am not going to know when the trading partner is going to send data or expect data. That's something that the client needs to let us know. So if something doesn't run as expected or data is still being received at the old van or provider, the customer needs to notify us. So it's really important that all parties are involved during this process.
Okay, we've talked about how to mitigate potential issues before they become problems and common EDI pain points. Now let's look at some best practices. We've already touched on some of these first best practices, but we're including them again because we believe they're foundational. We've already talked about the importance of investing in training. Making sure your team has the knowledge and the tools to succeed from the start is critical. We emphasized asking the basic questions early. Things like, what do we know? Who's responsible for what? Having a reliable intake process avoids rework, and it sets you up for a smoother experience down the line. We also stress the importance of proactive alerts and notifications so you can catch issues before they become problems. The next thing we want to emphasize is the value of self-service tools such as user management, adding EDI IDs or trading partnerships, and self-provisioning of connectivity like you see below. These empower users to get what they need without waiting on support, which saves time and reduces friction. These core principles will support everything else we're building on.
So we've discussed a few pain points that can be mitigated. We've discussed a few things about migrations, but now we can go into just some best practices and preparing for scale. Once basics are in place and running smoothly, that's when you're ready to scale. Often the key to scaling is introducing complexity gradually. You want to avoid building on an unstable foundation. So let's just talk through a few best practices and ensure you grow without the chaos. First, it's critical to maintain clear and updated EDI specs. That means documenting trading partner specific requirements thoroughly, making sure those specs are in version controlled, and everyone's working on the same playbook. Next, whenever you can, automate, automate, automate. Manual processes don't scale well. Automation reduces errors, saves you, your team, everyone time. Frees your team to focus on the exceptions that come up, and they will, instead of routine tasks. We also recommend implementing front-end validations to catch problems early before bad data gets into your system and causes issues. Finally, communication with your trading partners is key. We talked about trading partners a few times already. This means having a clear point of contact and making sure they're kept in the loop, especially when it comes to changes, outages, maintenance windows. Proactive communication builds trust and keeps things running smoothly. There's always going to be issues. Issues are going to come up in our industry. There's no way around it. Even with solid processes, smart scaling, issues are going to happen. It's just a reality. But what separates high-performing teams is what they do many times after the issue is resolved. We want to make sure those issues don't happen again by building structured lessons learned, root cause analysis, building these repositories. You're not just fixing the problems, you're capturing valuable knowledge and learning from them, and that's key. We've seen that organizations who actively document and learn from the issues can reduce recurrence up to 30%. That's a major gain for efficiency. Great way to do this through post-issue interviews, identifying the root cause, fixing the problem, of course, but why did it happen? What caused it? Those are really key elements to fully understand to avoid it happening again. Improve accuracy in your processes and, of course, enhance efficiency by not repeating the same fixes. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Like, what does work? What didn't work? Why? Why is always one of the best questions. So again, one of those basics. Most importantly, boost customer trust. When your customers see that you learn and improve from the issues that arise, confidence in your service goes up.
Let's wrap up by looking ahead. Embracing the future of technology is what will separate the average from the exceptional in the EDI space. First up is AI. Artificial intelligence is no longer theoretical. It's being used right now to help businesses like ours with intelligent data mapping, error detection and validation, as well as compliance and standards monitoring. AI can transform traditional EDI from a static data pipeline into a dynamic, intelligent business network. By reducing manual effort, increasing data quality, and improving partner agility, AI enhances our EDI offering and gives our clients faster onboarding, fewer errors, and smarter business insights. AI solutions fit naturally into the EDI industry space. AI can perform anomaly detection to catch errors or strange behaviors in your data before they become bigger issues and drive intelligent automation, which will reduce manual intervention across your operations. Recently, our own internal anomaly detection program alerted us to a small potential issue that, if left alone or had we not been alerted, it could have become a critical event. However, due to the notification, we were able to mitigate and resolve the issue before it became a problem. Businesses can also utilize natural language interfaces, which can reduce manual intervention within your support and technical teams. Currently, we are implementing a natural language interface to interact with a partner's AI chat to extract information about documents sent or received on the ECGrid network. AI can even identify new business growth opportunities, such as new partners or underserved segments. The companies that are leading the industry forward are embracing AI, not just as a tool, but as a strategic advantage in how they deliver EDI services. Now, alongside AI, we also have application integration, which is key to making everything work in real time. The integration landscape has changed significantly. Leading EDI platforms now offer pre-built connectors to major systems like SAP, Oracle NetSuite, Shopify, and Microsoft Dynamics. This means companies no longer have to build custom connections from scratch, and this results in faster deployments and far fewer integration headaches. But connectivity isn't the only end goal. Automation also needs to be factored in. In one case study, a mid-sized manufacturer reduced manual and data entry by 90% by integrating their EDI directly with ERP and shipping systems. That led to fewer errors, faster order processing, and better cash flow. Beyond process efficiency, integration unlocks growth opportunities. Vertical flexibility is a major advantage here. Integration allows companies to break into new markets, like going from retail into direct to consumer, without rebuilding their core infrastructure. Integration becomes the bridge, not the barrier. And finally, continuous sync and real-time visibility provides faster decision-making. It improves operational efficiency, competitive agility, and importantly, enhances customer experience. This is where EDI is headed, and these technologies aren't necessarily optional anymore. They're quickly becoming the new baseline. The companies that adopt and invest early will be the ones that lead the market.
We hope these EDI pro tips prove helpful, valuable to you and your businesses. Please feel free to reach out to myself, Crystal, anytime with any questions or feedback. We love hearing from all of you. So now we'd like to answer any questions you may have and ask throughout the session. And Linda, let us know what you have for us.
So one of them, Shelley, we know that you spoke a little bit about migrations and gave some tips there. We did have a question, a general question that said, how difficult is it to migrate from one van to another? Now, besides the tips that you gave, is there anything else that you'd like to add to that? How difficult is it to migrate from one van to another?
If you're migrating from one, and I'll just speak from my point of view, if you're migrating from one van to ECGrid, if you don't mind all of the questions I'm going to ask you, because I will ask you a million questions. I'm going to ask questions about your trading partners. I'm going to ask questions about the client IDs. I'm going to ask all of the questions that you even remotely touched on, plus many, many more. When you ask the right questions and you have the information, it's not hard. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. And it's a really crazy thing. I mean, clients will sit on a van they're very unhappy with because they are completely scared of the migration process. When you really do the work before that migration day, you can absolutely have a very clean cut over that's well planned, well organized, and make everyone happy.
A good plan. Thank you. The next question is, I use AS2 for some partners. If my AS2 server goes down, can I set up another communication line to ECGrid? And if so, how quickly can that be done?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I mean, on our portal, the ECGrid portal, we allow self-provisioning. I mean, you can do it yourself. You can set it up and test it within literally seconds. You can also enable SFTP. Again, all available on our portal. You can do it yourself. You don't even have to reach out to my support team to request it. We also offer ECGrid API, although that might take a few more minutes. That is a little bit different, but we'll also soon be providing a standalone upload tool that can be used for urgent communication issues. But again, on the portal, AS2, SFTP, immediately.
Great. All right. One more question here. Our team struggles with monitoring our communication server for our EDI trading partners. Are there alerts we can set up, and are they in real time?
Crystal, that definitely falls into your product ring. So I will let you take that one.
So I would suggest consolidating all of your trading partner connections to a single connection to ECGrid. So there's only one connection there to monitor. In that case, you could then utilize our API and move all of your and the trading partner connections directly into your existing monitoring system.
Okay, well, listen, thank you, Crystal and Shelley, for sharing your helpful pro tips with us all. To everyone on the call, we appreciate you being here and hope you're taking away some valuable pointers. We'd love to see you again for future installments of ECGrid Presents. Our next webinar is going to cover cybersecurity, and it'll take place mid-September. So keep an eye on your email for details. Definitely sign up for our newsletter, and I will put the link right in the chat right now. If you have any additional questions or want to chat with anyone at ECGrid, please reach out anytime at info@ecgrid.com. That's the easiest email. Or if you already have a direct connection to your favorite contact at ECGrid, reach out. That's it for now. Wishing you all a great day and hope to see you next time.